Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of See It Work. My name is Dan Verville. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Derek Chalmers. You are watching our monthly show where we here at Princess Auto let you see our products in action. See them working, hence the title of the show, See It Work. You'll notice we're together again. Derek, we're together.
We are.
How does it feel?
It feels good. We're still 6 feet apart.
We are still 6 feet apart. We are filming live from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Our restrictions now allow for us to be together in the same room, but we are 6 feet apart. Still so far away, but I feel close to you, Derek, and that's all that matters. That's really all that matters. But more importantly, what are you going to see work today? Well, on today's show, we are going to be looking at the Power Fist 200 amp multi-process welder and what a unit this is. A reminder to all the viewers out there, if this is your first time watching See It Work, you actually have a chance to win this very welder yourself. Simply ask a question, drop a comment in one of the chats. We always do our best to answer the questions live on show. I get them right in here, right in my hand. And you might be picked to take home this 200 amp welder for your very own use today. So good luck and fire questions away. Derek, this is a great unit.
Absolutely, yeah. This guy can do pretty much anything you want.
But we've come a long way to get to this.
Absolutely.
Right here at Prince Auto. We've done welders for quite a while now, right?
A long time, yeah. Since just after the inception in the 40s. And we've got some B-roll up here, and this is some of the previous iterations that we've carried in the past.
They're coming.
They are coming.
They're coming in. There's some old welders coming up. There it is.
Yeah, Ready Arc welder.
The Ready Arc, $220, that's cheap.
That's a good price.
Great price.
Market value, yeah. So these guys were typically a stick welder, generator-driven stick welder, so you could take them anywhere. Portable. Not as
portable. Let's talk portable.
Yeah, portability.
There's no weight on those.
No.
How much do you think one of those suckers would weigh?
Probably quite a few 100 pounds, I would imagine. It's cast iron.
Yeah, cast iron welders. You're bringing that out in the field. Not a big deal.
Yeah, no, you need some help doing that. But something like this, the 200 amp here, this is inverter based. So this is a nice lighter version of what we used to carry.
Yes.
Yep. So this could be portable to out into the field, into a shop environment. You could take it from your house, you could take it to your friend's house, do some work for them, and easily toss it in the back of the vehicle, and away we go.
So we say multi-process welder. What kind of welding can you do with this unit?
Right out of the box, this is going to do stick welding, arc welding. It'll do flux core wire feed and MIG welding, gas MIG welding, solid core wire welding. And then you have the option to do aluminum spool gun and DC TIG welding for stainless steel and mild steel.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
3 full options right out of the box.
Four options.
4. Sorry, I can't count today,
right.
Apparently. We got some questions already flying in. And obviously we're gonna run it right away. This is actually a relevant question here from Tom. What kind of power supply does it need to operate?
Well, typically out of the box, this thing is going to be hooked up with the cord on it is a 50 amp 3-prong 240 volt. It does have an adapter here, which is a really nice option that allow you to run it on 120 volt. So you're going to plug the welder wire that comes from the factory into this adapter and then plug your standard 115, 120 outlet into the wall, and the machine will recognize the voltage that's input to it. So it will not allow you to set it any higher than what your wall supply is giving you. On the 120 volts, it's going to give you a range of 22 gauge sheet metal all the way up to 1/4 inch plate. And then from that up to 1/2 inch plate on the 220, anywhere between sheet metal and 1/2 inch plate at multiple pass.
Matt asked, how long can it MIG weld 18 gauge steel?
Well, 18 gauge steel, typically you're not going to be doing much more than a small stitch weld or a spot weld.
Okay.
You'll have a really good chance of blowing through it, even set to the determined predetermined setting on the machine, and we'll go through that in a minute, all the different settings that they have. But that's a really thin piece of material to do like a long stitch weld or a long bead weld on it. Something like that. The duty cycle on the 120 amp or 120 volt rating, sorry.
That's what Curtis just asked. What's the duty cycle?
Duty cycle.
Here we go.
That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on the 120 volt, it's 40%, and on the 240 volt, it is 20% at 200 amps. So of course, as you're not drawing a full amount of power, it's going to be a little bit longer. So maximum would be 40, and 40% duty cycle is quite good, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's walk through the settings then before we spark it up.
Absolutely.
I believe we have some footage of that too. Here we go.
Yeah.
Look at that screen, LCD.
Yeah.
I believe.
So you can roll through all the different settings, the features, the functions, and when you go into each specific setting, you can adapt and change from the factory default settings. So as we go into a MIG setting, for instance, and we're going to be doing some mild steel, it'll roll through what type of gas you're going to be using for MIG, right? MIG stands for metal inert gas. And you have your options of the different types of gas that you can put through it. You've got your thicknesses of your wire you're going to be using. You've got the thickness of the material, and it's all push button. So it's going to tell you where to hook up your leads. It's going to ask you what size filler wire you're going to be using, and you're going to select that, thickness of the material, and you can scroll up or down to select a thicker material. And then that's a preset factory setting that you're going to be able to just pick up and go. You can adapt in some cases a little bit more amperage, a little less amperage, depending on what you're doing. If you're welding dissimilar thicknesses of metal together, like some sheet metal to something a little bit heavier, you can play with that to give yourself a little more heat, a little less heat. It's really easy to do, and all of these settings, you can save them. If you see in this shot here, the two small boxes on the right at the bottom next to the gas tank, you can apply a pre-saved setting or you can save a custom setting.
This is fancy.
This
is very fancy.
Yeah.
So one question that jumped out of my mind is for someone who's been welding for a while, hasn't used one of these units, what can they expect? Was that hard to do? It looked easy.
It's not. It is actually, some cases, all the different information, it looks daunting, but it's very similar to what you would do with your standard knobs and switches on the old style welders. Now you get a little bit of benefit there too in some of the instances with the MIG to be able to control the gas flow, the wire speed, burn back. There's a lot of intricate settings that you may not use, but if you need to adapt something specifically to the job you're doing, you can do that. And that's really nice because a lot of the features aren't on most of the welders out there. And I mean, bang for the buck, what you get with being able to save memory. And when you turn the machine back on, for instance, we were welding these test plates together, 3/16" steel, that's preset. So if you go back into the garage after lunch and you turn the welder back on, you don't have to set it again. It's already set to what you were doing and just continue welding.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just tuning in right now, you're watching Princess Auto See at Work. I'm Dan, this is Derek. Today we're looking at the PowerFist 200 amp multi-process welder. And you know what, we've talked long enough about it. I know we got lots to cover today, but can we see it in action?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got just a few little plates made up with different types of joints and a little jig to hold them in place here. We'll just do a little 90-degree corner joint here.
Do I need to wear my helmet for this?
You probably should.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
You want to be...
We'll talk a lot. We got lots to cover today. It's only going to be a 3-hour episode, so hope everyone's got some popcorn, get your lunch ready. I shouldn't say that because I know some people out there are like, let's watch for 3 hours. I know, you guys got nothing to do. You're just watching some great products in action.
Absolutely. So safety first, you've got a jacket you can put on over there if you're going to be close enough. I've got my welding sleeves on.
Okay.
Like to put those on, little free range of motion there. Got my gloves on, the helmet.
I went styling with the shark today.
Yeah, that's a good look.
Yeah, thank you. You picked it out, so I'm gonna throw you under the bus for that.
Yeah. So we've got this machine plugged into a 240 volt outlet, and that way, if we had to go and weld something thicker, we could go without having to put the adapter on it. So the gas is all hooked up and ready to go in the back. We'll just turn the switch on here and let it roar up. Now it's all set, like I said, preset to what we were doing before. So we're just going to be getting in, run a little stitch weld here.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a top-down view. Okay. Everybody watch your eyes in the studio.
Wow.
Yeah, just a little stitch weld. The nice thing about this is if you need to go in at any point and make your adjustment like we were talking about, if you feel that the wire speed's a little slow, it's a little flat, you want to have a little bit more fill, a little bit more wire put into it, you can do that. You can go in, you can jump in, adjust it up or down, play with it. All your settings are easily adaptable as you want.
Okay, so Peter asked, talking about wire, does it take 10-pound spools?
It will, yeah. I have a 10-pound spool in this one, and you can run the 2-pound as well. So it's really nice if you've got a lot of similar thicknesses you're running. In this shot here we're seeing on the TV, that's a 2-pound spool. If you're doing a lot of different materials, you can have a small selection of different sizes of the smaller spools. But if you're doing a lot of the same fabrication in light industry or in a fabrication shop, you can have just that one size spool left in there, and away you go.
We have lots of questions coming in. We're going to do our best to get to as many of them as we can. Is there a high frequency for TIG? Is there a pulse for TIG?
There is not. So I was going to touch on that when we got to the TIG section.
Dang it. Jumped the gun.
Yeah,
Jumped the gun.
That's okay.
This is the TIG section right now.
It's good information.
This is for you, Trevor.
Yeah, so no high frequency. It's a scratch start, and the high frequency for aluminum isn't there. So you can do aluminum with the spool gun, but only stainless steel and mild steel with the TIG function on this one. Yeah.
Okay, Steven from YouTube, thanks for watching on YouTube. You can also catch this show there if you didn't know. Steven just bought the ProPoint 180 multi-welder. He's pretty happy with it so far. Thank you for buying from us. Steven, how does this one work in comparison?
Very similar, actually. The 180 doesn't have a touch screen or a LCD screen like this to be able to go in and make your adjustments. It does have a lot of adjustments. You can leave it on a preset setting or go into finite adjustments and tweak wire speed and things like that. But it will do all the same form and function. As with the ProPoint and the PowerFist, they're not the high frequency, they're only a DC TIG welder, so the aluminum component would have to be a spool gun as well. But yeah, those are butter smooth machines too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Josh, who asks, what accessories come with the welder?
With the welder, you get an electrode holder for your stick for doing arc. You get the power adapter like we looked at here. You get a MIG torch, obviously, a ground clamp and lead. You get the regulator and gas hose to hook up your argon or your argon CO2 mix for MIG welding. And you get a tip, your nozzle with the torch, and your adapter for the large spool to the small spool. The PowerFist spool gun and TIG torch are available separately.
So that would be something else you want to pick
Something
up.
else you to purchase. Yeah. A lot of people don't right away want to jump into doing TIG or aluminum spool gun. They might have one small job to fix a boat or a ramp, so they'll think, oh, well, I'll wait to buy the spool gun. But this out of the box, you can get welding 10 minutes after you're home and set everything up. Yep.
Just jump right in.
Jump
there you
right
go.
in. Yep.
Well, if you're just tuning in, you are watching Princess Auto See at Work. My name is Dan. This is Derek. Today we are looking at the PowerFist 200 amp multi-process welder. We're getting lots of questions flooding in. The first weld we just did right now, John would like to know, was that weld gasless?
That was gas. So what we've got is we've got it set up for MIG. MIG again stands for metal inert gas. So you're going to be using either a pure argon or a pure CO2, I should say, or an argon CO2 mix. The gasless component would be what they call flux core, and that you can do outside. You can do it in a shop. It's a little more smoky, a little more spatter. So the weld's a little dirtier. It has a lot of good bite, good penetration, so it's really nice if you're welding a bracket onto a piece of machinery out in the yard or an old gate or something like that. Flux core is less particular about how clean the weld area is versus a gas weld. But if you try to take gas outside, unless it's dead calm, it's going to blow the gas away from the weld area that is actually doing the shielding and the protection for the weld, and you're going to have porosity and holes, and it's going to look like a funky little bead there. So yeah,
we don't want that.
Don't want that.
No.
Nope.
So what's the next weld we want to? Next setting we want to do here?
Well, what we've got here, we're going to stay with the same thickness. We're going to drop into. We've got a corner joint. It's just an open corner joint. So we'll turn this jig around here.
I'm going to watch one more, then I think I'm almost ready to take over. And by take over, I mean just try.
I get it.
Just try.
I get it.
It's hard. It's hard. I can't just jump in. Usually I would just, I'd walk up and just rip it out of your hands.
Actually, what I'll do is I'll turn the, you could if you want.
No, I do not want to do that.
I will turn the, I'll turn the jig upside down here so we can see it on its side.
There we go.
And we can get the top down shot. I'm going to trim my wire back just a little bit. Keep it clean.
And you should probably do that every time right before you start, right?
I was taught to do that, and it's always worked pretty good for me. Nice clean arc on the end of it. Okay. So this is really nice if you're building some trailer, maybe you're putting a bracket, some stake pockets or something on the side to put some sides on a trailer. An open joint like that, if you've got just a couple pieces of flat bar, you can make a bracket any size, any custom fit you want. What you can do too, one of the settings on the MIG version here with the gas is you can adjust your pre-flow and post-flow, very similar to what happens with TIG. So there is a charge or a purge of gas just before the weld starts, and then just after. So you can let that go a little bit longer, and that gas surrounding the weld is going to protect it. And in some instances, in some processes, it's important.
Okay, well, Perry has a good question that kind of dovetails on that a little bit. Obviously, this is a multi-process welder, does a lot of different things. Perry wants to know, being a multi-process welder, are there compromises in some of the processes versus using a dedicated unit to that specific type of welding?
No, absolutely not. The most machines that you're going to buy, unless you buy something really specific, they're going to have exactly what you're going to get out of this machine. So as a package, there's nothing that's going to be a shortfall or a shortcoming to anything you can throw at it, basically. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it is.
And why wouldn't you just jump to this right away?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. We want to see something here. Alan wants to know, can you show us the wire feed in the spool case?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's
So I'll
do
go
it.
around the side of the machine here.
If we can get a good angle of this, we can...
I'm just going to turn the machine and the cart a little bit here.
making you work today. There we go.
That's all right. So you've got your large spool here. You've got your drive system here. And there's a tensioner here that will allow you to put adjust the amount of tension on the wire. So for instance, the solid core wire that we're using here with the Mig, it's a little bit, it's a solid core. So it's a little bit stronger than you're gonna have in a flux core, which is a little bit softer. And then you can adjust your level up and down on this knob here. And there is a drive roll in under here that will allow you to change between sizes of wire and style of wire. So for instance, again, with the Mig, it's solid, it's very structurally sound. We can use just a regular V-groove type roller. If we're doing flux core, it's a little softer, and to aid it driving through the liner, what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna switch it over to a knurled groove. And the knurling on the groove basically looks like little tiny teeth that are cut in across the, on the bias of the groove. And that's gonna bite the wire and help drive the wire through. And whenever you're welding, what I like to do too is I like to make the suggestion, and we're a little cramped here to get on camera, but you see how the wire or the torch here is kind of tightened up a little bit? If you can have it as smooth transition as possible, even if it's of a large sweeping shape to the torch, that's going to allow the wire inside not to bind as it's driving through, and then you don't get little jumps and jogs out of the end of the torch when you're welding, and then the bead's going to be nice and consistent all the way, so it's going to have no feed issues at that point.
Okay. Jim would like to know, can you add a spool gun? Can you add a foot pedal for TIG, or is it
This
lift arc?
does not have a foot pedal available for it, but you can put a spool gun on it for aluminum. Okay. With a TIG, it's just a scratch start. Yeah, which once you get the hang of it is super easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you replace the whip on it?
Yes, you can.
Yes,
Yep.
you can. There you go, Roger. We can replace the whip.
Absolutely.
For those of you just tuning in, you are watching See at Work, the show where we show you Princess Auto's products live in action. You get to see them work. My name is Dan Verville. I'm here with Mr. Derek Chalmers, our product specialist. Today we're looking at PowerFist 200 amp multi-process welder. We're welding things. If you're asking comments, leaving questions, please do so, because if you do, you have a chance to walk away with your very own PowerFist 200 amp multi-process welder. That'd be a nice little takeaway on an end of February day, just get to win a welder.
Yeah.
Ah, that's pretty sweet. Maybe I'll ask myself a question. Don asks, I see the regular price, does it ever come up on sale?
They do come on sale. Yeah, we've had this unit in the store for a while, and it will come on sale reasonably regularly. And that's a great value. I mean, at that point, if it's a sale item you can look at maybe adding a TIG torch or a spool gun to it as well, or a tank of gas. Kind of takes the edge off having to buy a whole package. Mm-hmm. But with everything that you have here, you can do a lot of jobs just with what comes out of the box. So it's a nice option.
And warranty on this guy?
Warranty on this is going to be a year, but at Princess Auto, we try and help you with whatever we can. So
yes, we do.
The current iteration of the welder stands to what we've had in the past few years. We've been doing pretty good. They're really good quality things that we've been carrying. Nice and smooth. The big thing is with any other tool, and I like to suggest this to somebody who's coming in the store, I have seen some welders come back over the years, different brands, different makes and models. It's a tool, you really got to take care of it. They can put a cover over top of it, making sure everything's serviced once in a while, blowing the dust out of it, just taking care of it, not leaving it in a damp garage if that's the case, because there's a lot of electrical contacts in there, right?
Yeah.
So that corrosion can be, if it's really damp, when you go and open your toolbox and your tools get really wet, and you're in the springtime or something like that, that can be just as dangerous on a piece of electrical equipment. Right?
Yeah, and it's easy to forget about. One
Absolutely.
of those things just sits there, and then you're like, oh yeah, I want to use it. No, you probably shouldn't.
You probably shouldn't.
Yeah, it's probably not ready
you might
to
not
go.
be able to. Yeah.
All right, well, let me do some welding. Let's do it.
Sure.
I'm ready to go.
All right.
If I can. I'm going to gear up.
Yep.
Got some great gear. I'm going to say this right now. Derek picked all this stuff out for me, so he knew that I'd just love this color. I don't even know what this is.
It's a good look.
It's a good look. Thank you. Yeah. So safety first, and of course, all of the safety gear for welding we have at Princess Auto.
Yep,
We have a wide
100%.
variety
Yep.
of different items.
Got your gloves and your helmet. We'll swap spots here. So I've left that corner joint for you. I'll just turn it a bit there. And,
Corner joint, got it.
Just like you were doing before.
Just show you how easy it is. Hopefully no one is grading this weld, or it's not structurally for a bridge or
You're fine.
anything.
The ground clamp's hooked up, so you're ready to go.
I just like looking at myself wearing a shark helmet. This is pretty amazing. Wow. Okay, here we go. Sure, the comments are flying in about how bad this weld is. But I think it's perfect.
I'd like to say I've seen worse.
Out of 10, what do you give that one?
I don't know, I'd give it a solid 4.
4.
A little too fast.
I was going to say 5.
Too fast.
Too fast. Okay, well, I can slow down.
Yeah.
I can keep going. Can I try again?
You sure can. Yeah.
Okay.
You can slow it down a little bit.
I'll slow it down.
Slow it
We'll
down
see.
and
We'll see.
support your torch hand.
Okay. If anyone out there wants to get into welding, just do it. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
No, got to snip it. It got too long again.
Give it a snip. Yeah, you want to have a stick out with the wire, usually around 3/8 of an inch, no more than half an inch sticking out of the end of the nozzle.
Okay, so right.
That's good. Yep.
Right there. All right.
Yeah, as long as you can see it sticking out past there, you're good. That's better. All right.
That's way better.
That's way better. Yep.
Whew, just had to slow it down.
Just slow it down. Yep.
Easy. Do you know when there's? I'll switch back with
It's
you
not a
here.
race.
Well, sometimes when you're under pressure, you just want to
True.
just get it done there.
not
Not that I
bad.
felt any pressure
That
at all.
won't break. I'll put it to you that way.
Yes, I like this. Alan sent a great comment. He said, "Green coat for the green welder." How could you tell, Alan? How could you tell? A few more questions before we announce our winner today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Sherwin wants to know, can that machine be used outside in cold temperature?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. You'd be using flux core gasless wire with that. Obviously, unless you were protected. If you're in an environment where you've got tarps up to keep the wind away, you can certainly use the gas. But yeah, cold weather, no problem.
All right, let's see what else we got. Is this welder available at all Princess Auto locations? I believe you'd probably have to check with your local store, make
Yeah,
sure you
just
have
see if
some
they have stock,
but
but it's an active item we carry all the time. They can get that. Yeah.
up to what gauge does it well? Zenas asked that.
So it will do between 22 gauge sheet metal, and it will do in multiple pass up to a 1/2 inch plate.
Okay. Oh, Lauren here's a big question from Lauren. When I practice on car body steel, I seem to burn lots of holes. Is my setting too high or speed too slow? I have quick spots and go to another spot, then come back and spot another spot.
Yep. So yeah, typically when you're doing a patch panel or something on really thin material, whether it's a car or something like that, you want to, first thing first is you want to adjust the size of the filler wire that you're going to be using. So for instance, this machine will go down to a 0.023. For the wire that we were using for this large 3/16, so that's almost 1/4 of an inch, we were using 0.035. It doesn't sound like a lot of a difference, but when you're doing the thin stuff, the more material you're trying to put in, the more heat you need to make that blend. And the more heat you put into thin material, obviously you're going to have warpage for sure, and then you're going to blow holes in it. So what I do is I suggest something for auto body would be a 0.023, 24, or 25, and that's all depending on the welder and what size guide rolls it has inside. And of course, corresponding tip to that. If you're using gasless or flux core wire for sheet metal, that can also, it gives you better penetration, so that can also be one of the causes for holes popping in it. And then your speed, your angle, and then of course the heat range you're setting on your welder. Now this one's nice. You open the door and there is a chart on the inside.
Oh, there
you
you
can
go.
see this little sheet of paper here. It's hard to see at that angle, but
Super legible right now.
it'll give you whether you're welding aluminum, stainless steel, mild steel, if you're using gas or gasless. It gives you and wire size. It gives you ranges of heat settings for it. But as you go through the prompts here on the screen, and if you're welding with a certain size wire and a certain size material, it's automatically going to set it for that. And sheet metal, the best idea to do if you're doing something, especially on an exterior, is just a spot weld, move it over, tack it, and then fill the tacks in as you go along and let it cool down. You can use air. Some people quench it with water. everybody's got different thoughts on that, but if you just let it air cool and move your heat around, you're going to turn your possibility to get warpage or burn through way down.
Okay.
Yep.
A couple more questions before we wrap it up for today. Matt would like to know, how long will it operate at 40% duty cycle before overheating on 120 volts? My current flux core welder overheats after 20 minutes.
Okay, so duty cycle, what that would enter is at 10 minutes, a block of 10 minutes. The duty cycle at, say, 40% would be 4 minutes out of 10. So literally, you could weld for 4 minutes straight, and then you'd have to let it rest for the 6 to build up to that 10. So a couple things, if it's tripping breakers and it's getting too hot, the breaker itself might be a little bit lazy and it might be reacting a little too quick. But if the machine itself is going to thermal overload and shutting down, that would just tell you that you're using it at the very maximum potential for an extended length of time, and just try and shorten the periods of welding down a little bit to let the equipment just cool down a little bit internally. The fan on this will run, as we can hear running now, after we shut it off. I'll shut it off right now. It'll run for a little bit after, and it'll check the temperature, and it'll shut off only if it needs to. The little storage of power in there will keep it running for a little bit after that. But typically, as the fan's running and the unit's working, it'll stay cool.
It's eerily quiet in here now that you've done that. I don't like that at all.
Sorry, I'll turn it back on.
Can we turn? I want to ask you a question. What happens if, say myself in my green coat as a green welder, I come in and I've got like the wrong settings, and I try to do something? What would happen?
Well, it'll still weld, but
that's all I wanted to know.
If you've got the heat range, if you select something like, say you leave it on this setting and you're trying to weld sheet metal, you're just going to blow holes through it. Okay. So then you're going to know automatically that something's wrong with it. Or conversely, if you have it set for sheet metal and you come in to weld this, you're going to see that you've got little globs. It's not blending in. It's too cold, right? The weld is too cold. It's not laying down, giving you a nice clean edge. So that way you might want to turn your heat up a little bit, or go back. You can go right out of the home screen and just start from fresh and go into a new setting.
Okay. Yep. Can we see that? Can I try it when it's broken? Sure. Or you can do it. Maybe you'll do it. Yeah, sure. Because we got to see. Because I mean, for myself, like I said, like I'm not a welder, as everyone's pointed out. Thank you for that, for boosting my confidence today, everybody. I wouldn't know. I would look at it and I'd be like, yeah, things are looking great. Yeah. And then
so this guy, it's preset here. I'll turn it a little bit like this. All right. So I'm doing this upside down, so forgive me. So we'll go to the home button, and then we'll be able to roll through. So we're on Mig Steel right now, which we were just doing. We have Mig Stainless, we've got Mig Aluminum, we've got Custom, Manual. You can do manual settings. There's your stick or arc welding. Yeah. There's your TIG. There's a wide range of settings that you can adjust in here.
You don't want to go into that one.
Yeah, and then you go into Mig. So you're going to push this button here, and it's going to ask you what kind of gas you've got. So it's got options to do flux core welding with gas, flux core welding without gas, which is what typically most people will be doing, and then your argon CO2 mix or pure CO2. So we've got the mix. So I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to hit that guy. It's going to tell me to take my power lead and run it into the positive terminal, because when we're doing MIG wire, the electrode is positively charged and the ground clamp is true ground. And then wire size, so for this guy, we're going to set our settings back to do the 3/16. I've got a 35 spool in there, 035, select that. 18 gauge, I'm going to scroll up here to 3/16, select that. That's exactly what we had before. Now if I want to go and I want to adjust the voltage, let's say on this guy, I will press that button to take the highlight off of the wire speed. I'll go over to the voltage, I'll press that to highlight it, and I can roll up or down, and I can go to 1 decimal place. You know, I could roll up and down quick, but we'll go back down to that factory setting there. And
I did see a question earlier, is it touchscreen? As you can see right now, it is not touchscreen.
It's not touchscreen, it's an LCD screen. And then you can go down and scroll down through all of your, let's go here. So your torch trigger, so with the torch trigger here, you've got a couple options. There's a 2-touch, 4-touch option. So 2-touch would be what we were doing. So we pull the trigger is hot and active, and then when we would let go, that's your 2-touch, and it would turn the power off to it. A 4-touch is you would pull the trigger, it will weld. You can take your hand off the trigger, take your finger off the trigger, manipulate your torch wherever you need it to go, and then when you want to stop the weld process or the wire feed, you'd hit that button again. That's a 4-touch. And then you've got your pre and post flow gas purge, so you can extend your gas into the weld area a little bit longer if you wanted to. You've got your wire speed burn back. So the burn back will, is that good?
No, this is great. I'm just like,
There's a lot of settings.
There's a lot of settings. The instruction manual is very thick.
It is very thorough. The burn back's going to allow the wire to stay powered, but not feed. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow the wire to burn back from the weld pool, and the odd choice or odd time that you might be at an odd angle, or you have the wire speed too fast, it might actually dip and stick into the weld, and then you have to trim it back. That's not very common, but it can happen.
Okay.
And then you go into the gas post flow, so that's after weld, and then you've got your memory upload or memory save. So if we want to do a ton of this, we're building a bunch of brackets, let's say, for something, we like this setting, we can save it, put it on a card, and that way you can take it out, protect it, put it back in, and you can go right to that setting, and you can name the settings as well. So you can do like, shelf brackets or auto body or whatever you like. If you have something that's just perfectly set up, you can go right back to that setting.
Just save it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that is great. That's a lot of information. A lot of other questions coming in, obviously. People want to know, is the cart from Princess Auto?
The cart is
that
from
is
Princess
our cart.
Auto. Yeah, we've got 2 active carts and a couple special, actually 3 active carts and a couple special buy carts that we get. This one's really nice. It's nice and low. It doesn't take up a lot of room. There's tank storage on the back, so you can put probably up to a Q tank or a 100 cubic foot tank on the back of it. And a nice little shelf on the bottom. You can put a plasma down there. You can put your gloves and your helmet down there. Yep.
Cool. Well, I think we're ending here. How about you get all geared up and let's weld on the way out.
Yep.
Let's see it work one more time as we leave today. And I'll go through some closing things. So obviously we're giving one of these away. We're giving away Power Fist 200 amp multi-purpose welder. Multi-process, not purpose, although you can use it for many different purposes.
You could call it multi-purpose.
So our winner today, this is very apt. What a winner. It's from YouTube. His screen name is @doingmetalwork. So if your handle is doing metal work and you're watching on YouTube, you just won yourself a welder to do some more metal work that I'm assuming you do all the time. You're passionate about it. So congratulations. Thank you everyone for tuning in and watching another episode of Princess Auto See It Work. We're going to weld on the way out just because it's the best.
Why not?
Why not?
What else would you do?
We should weld something else after this. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next month. That's the butt joint, right? Lap, bevel.